What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Honest Tattooer Podcast. My name is John Mesa, and I'm with my co-host, Matt Truiano.
Hey, how you doing?
The homie G Money, always.
Hey.
And we have two amazing tattooers and very special guests today. And for the people that I know you, we're going to go start to my right. Let them know your name, where you're from, how long you've been tattooing, and what kind of tattoos you do.
Okay. My name is Pamela Carvalho. I've been tattooing for 11 years now.
Nice.
In Danville, New York, which is about an hour south of Rochester, because Danville is a very small town, so no one's going to know where that is. And what was the other question?
Oh, how long you've been tattooing? Then what kind of tattoos you do?
Oh, I do kind of realism, surrealism, kind of both of those things. But leaning in towards like realism.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And our next guest.
So my name is Tiffer Wright. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I've been tattooing for almost 20 years, and I do cats and dogs. That neo-traditional, but yeah.
Sick cats and dogs.
Well, we're really happy to have you guys here. You guys both came from miles away to be part of this, and we're stoked to have you. So
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
How's everybody been lately? What's your week been like?
Busy, but good, I guess.
I've been sick.
You've been sick?
Yeah, I'm good now.
Okay, good.
I've been drunk. And I rode a bull.
How often do you guys tattoo back home?
I thought you were going to say, how often do you ride a bull? How often do you ride a bull?
We rode bulls last night.
We did.
We rode bulls last night. It was pretty bad. So we went to Desert Spot 5 out in Brooklyn. It's a Western themed kind of like
Oh, so a mechanical bull.
a mechanical
All right.
bull. Would never. Come on,
Well,
bro.
I would, but they didn't offer a real bull. So
They didn't have a bull.
Yeah.
You know, we settled. But it was a really good time. It was
Did you take your top off? Were you like,
I did do the whole I did do that. Got to get into it. If not, don't do it at all. So how often do you guys tattoo per week?
I tattoo Wednesday through Saturdays.
Okay.
I do kind of like 2 tattoos a day. So like a 3-hour tattoo with an hour break and then another 3 hours.
Damn.
do you complete the tattoo in 3 hours?
Sometimes.
Huh?
It depends. But yeah, I usually just enjoy working in those 3-hour blocks. It's usually when my brain and my eyes and just in general, I need a break.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What about you?
one a day,
One a day?
no matter how long it takes.
Okay.
So, and I usually do that 5 days a week.
Oh, shit. What's your usual length of your day?
Probably 7 hours.
7 hours.
Yeah, 6 to 8.
6 to 8. Oh, shit. Nice,
Yeah.
dude.
Long day.
I would actually love to do more like bangers. I miss those days.
Yeah. Every now
Those
and
are
then
fun.
when you get to do like a tattoo that you get to just knock out, finish, and
Yeah.
just have it ready, it's like so rewarding.
And you see the finished product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss those too. I do them every now and then. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like if I bang out a quick one and I'm done early, I almost don't know what to do with myself for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Because for me, I only book one a day, right? So what do I do after that?
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, I could so many activities.
I did go through a period where I was booking way too many large projects. I just got like too excited and I booked so many of them and it always felt like I never had anything done.
That happens and it
Yeah, of
sucks.
course.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Then you're like, man, I want to post stuff, but everything will be just unfinished and unfinished and unfinished.
Work in progresses.
But the payoff to that is a couple of months down the road, you got like bangers all done. Just like, I'm going to post this back piece. I'm going to post this sleeve like day after day.
Yeah,
That's
and you're going into work without having to. I don't have to draw.
Yeah.
So nothing, right?
Yeah.
You've got like a whole month worth of projects
Yep.
that are just like finishing up.
That's what I always think of, like people that do like bangers every day. They're like churning out drawings every day, like nonstop, which is nice in a way, but also it's like you always got homework. Like every time you start a tattoo, you're gonna have to either draw the night before or draw the day of.
Yeah.
But you don't forget that though, like doing larger projects. You don't forget what it's like to bang those out, like drawing every night.
I feel like,
You know what I mean?
even when I'm doing a lot, like mostly when I'm doing a very large tattoo, it's part of my day.
Sure.
You know, especially like if we're even when like let's say I'm going to start a back piece, right? And I'm still going to break up. They're not going to get the whole back piece that day, of course, but I'm going to just break down like what's my thing that's going to be in the front. What's my big element?
Sure.
And then I'm going to add that background later. And then I'm going to add other details on top of the bigger elements. Like, so everything's going to, there's a never ending thing instead of just having it all be kind of all just ready to go. I like building it little by little.
I tattoo the same way. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like, because I've done that approach a couple of times, and then later on down when I'm adding more pieces to the back piece,
Yeah.
I kind of wish it was like, fuck, I should have done this in the beginning stages. Now I'm kind of painting myself into a corner because I already tattooed this in and I want to do something else here instead. You ever feel like, oh, if I had all this drawn out and designed and planned in the beginning of it, it'd be better?
So it's more of like, you still want to have the plan, you know, like you still want to have the thought of like, this is what I'm going to eventually do, and then breaking it down into, like, let's say I'm going to draw like a Japanese guide, samurai or whatever, you know, if he has armor and I want to put detail on that armor, I'm not going to draw the detail on the armor that day. Right. I'm going to just keep the panel open and I'm not going to worry about spending my hours putting the small details. I'd rather have one session where like, today's the detail on the armor. I'm going to put these faces that are going to go in each little thing and put all the like the little knots of like thread that are going to, all those things are going to get broken down to a separate session instead of just having it all there. And then it gives me the wiggle room.
So compositionally though, you have the whole thing set.
The composition is already, and that's usually the composition. It could just be like, there's a circle there. Or like there's going to be a thing there. You know, and then that thing, and then that thing could happen whenever.
So here's my issue with that though, because I would do that. Circle, something's going to be here. Circle's going to be here. And then I'll tattoo this one up on the top. But then when I'm ready to do the one on the bottom, like, oh man, it would be cool if this one overlapped that one. And now I can't do that because this one's already tattooed.
Well, that's a part of like, you still have to stick to your initial composition of what you want it to do.
Yeah, but what if your initial composition changes as you progress?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I totally get that.
I guess it depends on what style of tattooing you're doing. I feel like everybody's gonna kind of wiggle it. Usually for the things that I do, I can just break them down from like front to back. You know, it's like usually Japanese things, like if you have your main subject matters and then you can put your background after it and it still works really well.
It's like a Bob Ross painting.
It's like a Bob Ross.
Hey, happy
This
accidents.
happens.
It is kind of like a Bob Ross. So as far as backgrounds go, Pamela, how did you get started in tattooing?
Oh man, tale as old as time. I have been drawing for as long as I can remember. It's always like the only skill I've ever had in life. And so that's always come natural to me. I was actually a week away from going to cosmetology school. Out of desperation, I did restaurant jobs and stuff like that. I was a wedding photographer and I hated that. And then at one point, my boyfriend at the time was getting tattooed by someone in Rochester. And for whatever reason, he showed the artist my artwork. And then the owner offered me an apprenticeship. And I was like, well, that sounds better than what I was going to do. But I actually wasn't actually looking into being a tattooer. And then, that was like the worst year of my life. You know,
It's been the worst 19 years of my life.
Yeah, right?
yeah, you know, again,
Just learn to deal with it.
same old story. Like, you know, shitty person, doesn't know how to tattoo. Like just a bad situation all around.
Yeah.
Toxic place to be. And I was rescued by another tattoo shop. And then,
That's so wild for someone to offer you an apprenticeship and then be such a dick.
dude.
Right? Like, doesn't that seem backwards?
Yeah.
Well,
It's
he
like,
ran
what?
the place really weird and he had like other businesses and stuff. And it was more of just like a way to make money as it was like.
Was he a tattooer
Oh, yeah,
himself?
yeah.
He was a tattooer, but he was not.
It sounds more like a non-tattooer like owned shop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was a tattooer though, but
He was trying to make money.
and he tattooed out of a room that like he could close and lock the door, and he like solicited all the time, and like it was really rough. It was a lot of like verbal abuse, and it was.
Sounds like the good old days.
He made me draw for his tattoos all the time. And
Something that'll just like
Hey, it was
rough and tough, like, that trauma. Like,
yeah.
Is that guy still tattooing?
I hope not. I know. No, I think that shop got shut down finally in the last few years,
Okay.
just from people finally tattling on him.
yeah,
and-
things catch up.
and,
Things always
he
surface.
got his come up.
They do. They come back around.
Things
He was a
always
long-term
surface.
creep.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
things
Oh,
always
yeah.
surface. All right, well, long time coming. I
Yeah,
guess.
and then I was at that excellent studio for 5 years, and then we moved to a small town, so it didn't make sense for me to commute. And I didn't want to work at the studios in our town, and Yeah, so it's actually my tattoo studio is run out of our church building.
Oh, wow.
That my husband's been attending for more than 20 years. And so they offered me that space because they were offering him a job, because our church also runs the community center for the town, and it runs the after school program for the public school and stuff like that. And so they wanted to bring my husband on staff. And so to sweeten the deal, they offered to build me a space off the back of the building. And so I have my own entrance and it's its own entity. But yeah, I don't have to pay rent or anything.
Did the local hardcore bands play there also every Saturday night?
Yeah, they did.
This is wild, because I just came from Michigan.
Yeah.
And I was in Michigan because I've become good friends with the pastor and his wife. And I was tattooing out of their house when I was in Michigan, which is cool. Right next to the church and the youth center.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought that those things would ever align?
I know.
But they do, though.
But they do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's wild. That's crazy.
If you remember, a few weeks back, we had Ed from Tattoo Armor on the podcast, and he was able to hook us up with a discount code for our followers. So Tattoo Armor is literally the best way to wrap your client. I've been using it. Matt's been using it, and it's just awesome. There's no mess. There's no glue, and it's just super comfortable. I hope you can try it for yourself, and just go on to Tattoo Armor and use the code Honest Tattooer for 20% off your order.
After I got the chance to sit down with Matt and John on the Honest Tattooer podcast, the Force of Focus got amazing feedback when it comes to the Hello to Healed process, networking strategies, and most of all, creating your own personal brand and culture. So I want to give you the opportunity to take 15% off by coming to join the Force of Focus arena. Now, this is a community of high-achieving tattoo artists who are all here for one reason: to be around like-minded individuals who all want to grow not only in our personal lives, but within our businesses. We're going to walk with you side by side to build out every system you could ever imagine to not only ensure the fact you're on the right path, but how to be able to see your dream life and then achieve it. Now, I have a laundry list of artists who have been able to achieve their dreams. And if you're ready to do the same, click the link below and let's get a conversation going.
How did you go from going to I'm going to go to get my own place?
It was out of necessity, really. I was like, I'll just do a private studio thing. I don't want to, I'm not ready to manage anyone, especially because I was only 6 years into tattooing at this point. And I wanted to wait at least 10 years before taking on an apprentice, just kind of my own personal thing.
Look at that.
It just kind of...
There you go.
Good, there it is.
Yeah, right. At
a
least
little slow on the delivery.
10 years is a good number, man, before you decide, I want to teach somebody something.
I went 18.
And you're like, I want to teach somebody now.
I didn't even want to teach anybody at 18.
I still don't want to teach anybody at 18.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. It just kind of happened. I don't know. It was out of necessity, and yep. There's not much else to it than that.
That was the path.
Yeah.
How many people do you work with now?
Just the one, my apprentice. And she's we're dropping the label apprentice, but I still don't know what to call her now. So I just call her my apprentice because she is still learning from me. But
is there going to be like a formal graduation ceremony to not make her an apprentice anymore?
Yeah, I'll make her, walk down the street.
Yeah.
And,
roll out the red carpet.
Yeah, just the two of us will have our little graduation ceremony. Yeah, she's doing really, really well. And it's great because I think she's just kind of a unicorn. Like, we get along really well. And we're like two peas in a pod. And I feel like if and when she moves on, I don't know that I'm going to take on another one.
Yeah.
It's weird. But yeah, it's going really great.
Did she find you or did you find her?
I put out I was taking, what do you call them?
Inquiries?
Yes. Inquiries or submissions and stuff like that. Like, I wasn't accepting like resumes or anything, but I was, I had a form you could fill out. So I went through I think it was 18 to 20 people, which surprised me. I thought it was it's gonna be 5. And then I just kind of tried to ask the right questions, make sure that it was somebody who could financially support themselves while they were apprenticing and really wanted to be there, and it wasn't just kind of hobby tattooing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, it worked out really great.
Cool.
I have a question. Did you make any sort of agreement with your apprentice of all right, I am going to teach you to tattoo, and in return, your duties or your responsibilities or what you're going to do for me over the course of how long?
Yeah, I laid it out a little bit. I didn't like make her sign a contract or anything like that. It was kind of just a verbal agreement. I charged like $300 a month, but I didn't make her do a whole lot of grunt work. I was like, you know, we take out your own trash, and you know, maybe we take turns mopping, sweeping the floor, like dumb shit like that. Because we're sharing the space, so we don't have a janitor. And
it's just the two of you. It's not like, you know.
Right. And so I had this, you know, idea that eventually I might open a larger space. So this is kind of me working towards that eventually, which may or may not happen. But yeah, I wasn't trying to like get anything out of it, really. So I didn't have an expectation there. I know that I wanted to teach someone, and I wanted to not be alone in the studio anymore. And it's nice having the little bit extra income for future goals and stuff in the business and stuff like that.
Sure, totally.
But yeah, I really just wanted to begin creating a nice space, kind of dip my toe in mentoring in case I really hated it and didn't want to continue doing it. So yeah.
Could we go back on the monthly charge? I never heard of anybody doing this for an apprentice. You charge her $300 a month to be the apprentice for how long?
Until she started charging for tattooing herself.
Okay.
And then we would move to kind of percentage type situation.
Interesting. I've never heard that before.
So she paid a booth rent then?
I made it up. I was playing make 'em ups. I just
this is gonna work.
I asked other mentors what they were doing
Yeah.
and other apprentices what their situation was, and I tried to figure out the best situation for me and what would work for that apprentice. And I wanted it to be this kind of mutual thing where like I want this to work best for you and for me, and I kind of like want it to be mutual.
Oh,
sure, because she's also not making money, right? She's
You
not.
look so surprised.
Right, yeah.
No, I'm just like,
that's a great
some
question.
very cheap school tuition if you really compare it to any career that you could go and pay a monthly
and I
fee.
had another expectation of like, you have to be here at least 3 days a week. And it left room for her to be able to.
You are so nice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted her to, you know, have that space to be able to make money while she was affording the apprenticeship and stuff like that. So I didn't want it to feel like I was taking advantage of her and all of that. So
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Man,
More than fair.
I've had a few apprentices and I'm checked out. I'm done with it. Never doing it again.
Dude, too many people are undeserving.
Yeah, too many people underserving.
Right.
I've had good experiences and bad experiences with apprentices. But overall, it's just like, it's a matter of the time invested and being responsible for someone else. And then, man, it's just too much,
It's a lot.
you know?
Bro, it's a lot.
And it's like, there's just too many. There's too many. I don't want to keep adding more to the pod. There's too.
Yeah.
We're too many. Gabe says it all the time. We're full.
We're full. We're full. The water's spilling. The water's
There's no seats
spilling.
available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter what, there's going to be
sitting on
more
top of each
tattooers
other
popping
now.
up anyways.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep creating.
Yeah, it doesn't
more.
matter whether.
I'm not going to create one, no matter how.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do, right?
Yeah, there's going to be more anyways.
Yeah,
So I'm like, that's
absolutely.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like doing this podcast is, you know, the way that I'm going to pass whatever knowledge I have down.
Doing this podcast, you got like 30,000 followers. You got 30,000 apprentices.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Except this is not an apprenticeship, guys. I hope that this motivates you if you are somebody
Yeah,
starting out.
and it's
to
also
get good
$300 a
guidance.
month.
yeah, I've seen so much shit on TikTok where people are like, bottom line, you should be paid for your apprenticeship. Like, no. I'm just like, what is that?
Yeah, it's
Like,
insane.
for why? Like, what are you getting paid for? Like, I get if you're doing, you know, jobs that normally a counter person would be doing that has nothing to do with learning tattooing, but I'm gonna pay you to learn from me? Like,
No,
doesn't make any sense.
Alex and I just had this talk earlier. Like, I mean, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's your payment. Like, I'm not paying you to learn. I'm giving you I'm teaching you a craft.
Yeah, it makes more sense. Like and not that I would
it's up to
charge.
you though. It's up to you
Right.
what you do from there.
Yeah,
Correct.
I mean it. That's why I don't even knock it. Sometimes when like what they charged you $10,000 for your apprenticeship. I'd be like,
What a sweet deal, bro.
the wealth of information. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
like, that's
what
like
a
the
sweet
cheapest
deal.
tuition ever for, learning something that's going to feed you for your entire life.
Exactly.
They'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean you...
And I think even
You don't even have to say less.
It's hard to
regarding what you said about like having somebody that, even if they're doing non-tattooing jobs at your shop, like doing the front, like greeting customers and talking with them, like unless that person came from a really solid like service background or sales background and they know how to talk to customers, that person could be costing you money
For sure. And here's the other
Right.
thing.
because they're not good at that job. So you're letting
Right.
them learn and you're watching and hearing them say things and you're like, oh my God.
Outside of
that sounds
tattoo, right? They're still
this is-
learning.
they're still learning a skill
Right.
of how to communicate with people
Right,
effectively.
because in tattooing, I mean, typically you are managing your own business. You are your own business. So like
Sure.
if you're shitty at talking to people and you don't know how to schedule your own life, like you're going to really struggle. And so part of working up front is learning how to do those
Good
things.
bedside manner.
And,
Absolutely.
yeah, and
Yeah.
scheduling and
Talking to people, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've always said, like the quality of tattooing that they leave with is just as important as the experience that they have.
Absolutely.
Right?
yeah.
Right. I can't give them a great tattoo and a shitty experience.
I've been saying that
Yes.
so
Sure.
frequently.
Yeah.
But
lately,
doesn't mean I can give them a shitty tattoo and a great experience.
Yes.
Like those things go hand in hand. But that,
Well, you can.
That's
You
what
just
you're talking
probably
about.
shouldn't.
Right.
I think it's
Yeah.
worse to give someone a good tattoo and a shitty experience. Because
Oh,
they
yeah,
have that
absolutely.
tattoo for the rest of their life. And
Oh,
every
for
time
sure.
they see
They-
that,
they
tattoo,
think about
they're
the
thinking
shitty
about that
That's what
shitty
they'll think
experience.
about. That's what they'll think
Absolutely.
about. I agree 100%.
And I've heard that many times where it's like, oh, I'll be like, dude, who did that on your leg? Oh, it came out so sick. Yeah, it was such and such. The tattoo is sick, but he was an
I will
asshole.
never-
He was a bit of a dick.
He's a
Yeah.
bit of a dick or
100%,
something.
100%.
And I'd be like, oh, and I'm always like, oh, I'm sorry for you, I guess, because
Yeah.
I try my best to be so
that's
cool.
that's what they associate with
Yeah.
that work, no matter how good it is.
Yeah,
Right.
They're always gonna say, they have to mention.
I'd be like, I love
tattoo.
yeah, it's a
sick.
great tattoo.
The guy or the girl
Was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So I that's a big deal for me. A big
Oh
deal.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
What else you got?
Oh, I got a bunch of stuff.
Oh,
Fire
dude.
'em up,
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I want to go to Tiffer because, we haven't heard how you started
Oh,
this
God.
18 years ago.
It'll be 19 years November 5th.
Holy shit.
19
Man, I
years.
always admire the people who know to the day.
I don't know the day.
Me neither.
Well, okay. I need y'all to. I don't talk about this. The reason I know to
Exclusive.
the reason I know to the day is because I taught myself in my own shop that I opened November 5th of 2005.
Oh, shit.
What? Damn. Okay.
You see, you're telling people right now, they're like, I can do it too. Tiffer did it.
I'm like, no, you can't. I'm telling you. Like, I genuinely feel like I'm where I was at 10. I should have been at 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the journey I took. Right.
Yeah.
You're the grain of sand that gets stuck inside of an oyster and it just turns into
I just
a
had
pearl.
oysters this morning.
It's like
And
one.
I loved them,
It's
and
like
Alex
one.
hated them.
You know what I mean?
So,
I mean-
hey, it was a fucking wild ride. It really was. And so I own this shop in Lubbock, Texas.
Where the fuck is that?
Put your guns out, Texas Tech.
Put your guns out. That's great.
Yeah, and I opened this shop in November 5th, 2005. And I opened up this shop, and I had no knowledge.
3 years with a financial crash. It's going to be great.
I had that shop for 10 years,
Wow.
Damn.
and then
Wait. You got to go into detail. Do you open the shop by yourself,
my dad, he's a businessman. He's like super smart,
but
and
with other artists, or just you?
just me.
How slow is the learning curve?
How do you do this? How do you open a
Okay. So there was another artist, and he was supposed to teach me in my own shop, quote unquote. Yeah, right. Okay. So we basically hired him as a shop manager. So we opened the shop, my dad and I, my business partner, opened the shop, and then hired him as a senior artist, and I would learn in my own shop. that's fucking bass backwards as fuck. Like people are right now listening to this and be like,
I'm
what
apprenticing off of my employee.
I'm just thinking about like in a different industry. Like I don't know how to cook for shit. I would never think about opening up a restaurant. Be like the head chef.
Hey, but 20 years ago, do you think I knew anything about the industry?
Dude, that's
fuck
great.
no. You know, and I look at it differently now, right? You know, I have a respect and appreciation for it, but I didn't know that whenever I started.
Yeah.
Right.
So I did that, and then I had to fire him for stealing within the first year.
Oh shit.
So now I am a year in of this shop by myself. with no apprenticeship. I mean, that first tattoo, bro, that butterfly on that wrist has got to be it's got to be floating around somewhere.
Oh man.
But it was crazy, and you know, it shaped my career, you know, because I had to learn a much different way.
Well,
And so
Where was the motivation? Like why open a tattoo shop without having any experience with it?
Are you really asking me that question?
Yeah, I think that's so
Okay.
interesting.
So I raced motocross and supercross professionally.
Sorry, say that again.
Motocross and supercross.
Oh, okay.
Badass.
I raced professionally leading up to this.
Okay.
So, and then I had a bunch of injuries, and I was like, you know what? And also my son was born that same year. So it was just like injuries and my son. It was like, I should probably think about something a little more like
That's crazy.
Yeah.
less crazy.
Something you stay on the ground.
Exactly. So
I can respect an adrenaline junkie because I like adrenaline too. So,
bro.
I know he likes to fish.
Yeah.
and you know what? All right. So let me break something down.
Bass
though.
fishing.
Yo,
Bass
check
fishing.
this out.
I almost spit my
Let me break something
This is cheap
down.
money right here. I took it off because he was like, this is disrespectful to a fisherman.
Just to give you an example, I've like slowed down my craziness. Like I get it from my dad. My dad told me last year,
so
he's
you're
like, well, the next time I come up to New York, let's jump off a bridge, you know, like this bungee jump.
Fuck
And I was
yeah.
like, hell yeah, pops, let's fucking do it. Like that sounds awesome. But now I bass fish because that's like my idea of toning it. That's me toning it down, but still getting that little adrenaline spike when something on the comes on the edge, you know, at the end of the other line. And I'm like,
Hey, I want to say I get it, but I don't. Alex gets it, but I
it's great.
don't.
Your heart starts pumping. You're like, yes, fucker.
Yeah. Okay, you asked me a question. I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. So during that time, similar upbringing. Like, I mean, I sketched and drew, and I come from a family of artists, right? Like painters and sketchers or drawers or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it was always been a part of my life. But my dad, who's one of the smartest businessmen I've ever met in my life, got really into Miami Ink.
He's like, these guys are making money left and right, bro. We need to get in this right now.
This is 2004, 2005,
Oh
right?
yeah, this boom is about to go down,
Bro,
We need to get in.
And Pops goes, I know you're taking a break from racing. What do you think about tattooing? I think you, and I was an enthusiast already. I was getting tattooed, right? Because I love the craft and I love the industry, right? And he was like, what do you think about tattooing? I was like, yeah. And he was like, let's open up a shop. And he was fucking gung-ho
Dead serious.
on Miami Ink. And so he was like, okay, I'll be your silent investor. Boom, open up a shop. And that's how that went down.
Wow.
Dang.
God damn.
Do not, hey, don't air this.
Off the record.
All right. So like all those, you know, like Tetris shapes lining up together,
Yeah.
basically just solidifying out there. Yeah, you guys will not be able to do that.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
No.
No.
I sold the shop after 10 years and went back to school for radiology tech.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I'm in Lubbock, Texas. I'm like, what
You're
am
a
I?
man of many hats.
I'm like, this is not what I thought tattooing was going to be like.
Yeah.
I'm tattooing fucking college kids with fucking, golf tees and Aguitas Veritas and shit. And I'm like, this isn't what I thought tattooing was going to be like. And all I knew was magazines back then, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's all we had.
Yeah.
And then, so I sold the shop, went to school. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it one more shot. And that's when I moved to Dallas. And that's when I opened up the shop folklore with Danny G.
Oh shit! So that all went down around that time.
That's when that went down.
Damn.
That was 2014.
2014.
So-
So this is gonna go around the board. How many shops have you worked at?
3.
3 shops. So,
Well, yeah.
so that's the first shop you owned.
First shop I owned.
Second shop you owned.
Perception, Zach Singer.
Oh, you
shop.
worked at Perception.
I
That's
worked
right.
at Perception.
Yes.
And that's where I met
Singer,
Danny.
cool.
Yes,
That's where I met
yes,
Danny.
yes, yes.
And I worked at Perception for 2 years. And then Danny and I opened up Folklore.
Awesome.
Those are the 3 shops I
Those are
worked
the
at.
3 shops.
That's it.
Damn.
20 years, and those are the 3 shops.
Oh, you've worked with your pops as your investor, a cool ass dude like fucking Zach,
Zach.
Yeah.
and then fucking
And then
Danny's
fucking
another
Danny,
cool ass motherfucker, bro.
LTP, motherfucker.
LTP. Fucking say
What
no
about you, Pam?
LTP.
How many shops have you worked at?
3.
3 shops.
No shit.
And that was the first crazy dude. The second one,
Second crazy
At a-
dude.
I was actually at a shop called White Tiger.
Okay.
There's 2 locations owned by the same woman, TJ Dell. She's exceptional, just an all around awesome person, but one of the most like wise women I've ever met. And so I stayed there for the 5 years, and then
Cool.
now I'm where I'm at now.
Good. That was good for you though, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Zach's shop, Perception.
Yeah.
I was only there for 2 years, but that was me moving from Lubbock, selling my shop in Lubbock, and moving to Dallas. So for Zach to give me an opportunity like that, being
Yeah, that's
nobody,
major.
well, was major, right? So even 2 years, like Zach, I could have gone anywhere else, but
Yeah.
that definitely helped.
shape everything from that point.
yeah.
Absolutely. So I definitely vibe
G.
with that.
How many shops?
Oh shoot. So let me think.
If you have to
4.
think that
4 shops.
4.
no shit.
Yeah.
And how
4.
long? How many years?
It's gonna be 18 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
18 years tattooing. Your first shop, how long were you there for?
I was there. I was apprenticing.
That was your apprentice shop.
Yeah.
And how long did you stay there?
It depends. My mentor stayed there for like a year and then went to another shop. And by that time I had kind of like,
Spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. And then did you come to New York right after that?
I did.
Okay. And then you kind
Yeah. And then I got my foot in the door in a street shop in Brooklyn
of
and
Brooklyn.
then kind of stayed in Brooklyn
Yes.
and then now in the city.
And
How many years
back
were you
No
there?
Idols.
In Brooklyn, like 3, maybe like, yeah, like a good like 7 years.
But that shop,
7 to 8.
but that shop was the one that that shop like kind of helped.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Working at that street shop in Brooklyn, getting whatever walked into the door, it was probably the most helpful thing in my career.
Sure.
Because it strengthened like every attribute in tattooing. It really did. Like all from the script to the traditional pieces to like the religious imagery. Yeah, having to use different techniques
that's
and
what I'm
switching
asking
it
about.
up,
Yeah.
switching your brain. Like it was incredibly difficult at times, but sometimes you got to be a little uncomfortable to really kind of like go to the next level.
But you look back and think about it, and you're like, man, that was where I needed to be.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have traded a different route for that.
Sure.
Yeah,
without Perception and Zach, same thing, right?
Yeah,
I'm like
exactly.
that facilitated like
for sure.
my journey.
We all have different starts.
Sure.
But when we get to the levels that we're at, where we start to feel very comfortable with our the creativity and the application, that I feel is like one of the beautiful processes of tattooing is when you start feeling comfortable on the skin. And then there was just so much struggle in the beginning when you're getting used to that canvas.
Sure.
But yeah, that was kind of like my boot camp, and I'm grateful for it. You know, some people start off strong and they're just like, and I'm never hateful about it. Like what my struggle was.
I vibe with that. That's
for sure. I'm always like, I can learn. You know what I mean? Like you can learn something off of each other's roads, different roads.
Sure,
it's pretty cool though.
What about you, Matt?
2, maybe kind of 3. So the shop that I apprenticed at, I stayed there for about 10 years. While I was in that shop, I was also doing 1 day a week at another shop for maybe like 3 months. I don't know if you would count that, but
Yeah.
and then here.
Yeah.
So how many years tattooing?
Coming on 18.
Okay, and it was You said 3?
3. Yeah.
3, yeah.
So I spent about a year and a half, 2 years at the place where I apprenticed at. Then another 4 years at Big Joe's. Then after that, I worked at Sacred Tattoo. I can't remember for how many years. Then I went to Bang Bang, worked there for about 2 years. Went back to Sacred, but that was after like a big stint of just traveling all the time. I was pretty much just traveling, and then would just work at the shop like a couple of days a week and just go back on the road.
Yeah.
And then after that, here at No Idols.
So was that 5?
Gank. How much was that? Was that?
Something like 4.
It was 5, yeah.
It was like 4 or 5, something like that. 5?
Yeah.
You know that's wild, because this is very similar on all of us, because how many times do you hear somebody say that they've been tattooing for 10 years and they've worked at 10 shops?
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Which is super common.
You're gonna start
I hear
hearing
it a
that now.
lot.
Yeah, you're gonna start just bouncing around. People are just bouncing
Yeah,
around.
yeah. I don't like it. Or they do. I'm like,
I think it's because like the new generation is. I mean, it makes sense with the internet. You become more socially awkward. So a lot of people don't get along anymore because
they're also trying to find their like perfect
The
scenario.
perfect place.
and there is none.
There
It's
that
like-
does not
Isn't
exist.
one.
Yeah,
That doesn't
it's-
exist.
You're gonna have to put up
Yeah.
with some dumb shit. Like,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you know.
You know what I compare it to? It's like the guys like, I don't understand it. Everywhere I go, I get into these fights. All these people are such assholes.
like it's you. It's you. Yeah, it's always you. It's always gonna be you. And be like, oh, I'm the fucking problem.
So the reason why I'm asking all these questions, kind of leading up to this, I'm a big fan of a page on Instagram that is by Gunnar Gaylord. Guys, Art of Gunnar.
Yeah.
The art of
Yes.
Yep.
It's been a tattooer for over 20 years. I'm saying, and this is a private page, and it's mainly like a forum for people to kind of talk, tattooers to discuss ideas. So, you got to be approved by him. He's going to let you in, and then you can kind of see. And one of the questions that he brought up recently was about shop hopping, and most of all about how can a shop create an environment that artists don't want to leave? An artist, that wants to be like, I want to stay here. And some of the things that I read, because, people just get to comment, and it doesn't have that many comments on there. It's a small page and it's still growing. And I suggest that if you like this podcast, that you go follow that page, hold it sacred. It's good conversations there happening. And overall, like I've always asked myself that as well, because like I've always wanted to create a space where artists wanted to stay and wanted to grow with me, and that,
Sure.
Like we can all grow together, we can stay together, we can grow together, but it's a lot harder than you can ever imagine. It seems sometimes to me, coming from somebody that, has to deal with all the back end stuff of a shop, that it's almost impossible to get people to be happy,
That's what we talked about before we started, right? That's where we were at.
It's really, really hard because like, what do you need really? What do you need?
Well,
So I'm going to go around.
no, go ahead.
Let's start with Pam.
What's the specific question?
Yeah.
What do you need?
What do I need?
No. How can a shop create an environment that artists don't want to leave?
I think it's important first to understand that you like can't be all things to all people.
Yes.
So just upfront understanding that and not having hard feelings if like you're not someone's particular brand, right? But I think just, oh gosh, I don't know. That's a really hard question.
I think you just nailed it though.
No,
Just tell
I
people
agree.
right away. Tell
And
people
just
right away. This is what the shop is.
Yeah.
You're either in it or you're not.
I
That's
agree.
it, right?
I agree.
And not taking advantage of people and like generally just not being an asshole and creating a space for people where they feel comfortable to come to you if they need something, if they're hard pressed for money, if they need to ask a question. Like, don't be an unapproachable asshole. I think is a big part of it, and helping people feel supported in their tattooing and not trying to overstep them or make them feel like shit. I don't know.
I feel like
Creating like a family.
creating a family environment in
Yeah.
a shop, I
yeah,
think
there you
it's
go. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yep.
the best place where you could be at and feeling included. But then as
I don't want to work with strangers. I want to feel familiar.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But one thing, for example, like in this shop, you know, we have 2 levels, right? At one point, a bunch of us used to work down here and a whole nother group of artists worked upstairs. And this is when I learned how personalities can change, right? So then like we would have like a group of dudes working down here, and I mean, there's girls too, but I'm just saying peeps, dudes, all right? Working down here. And everybody's chilling, having a good time. And then like the people on the other level would feel excluded from what's happening there, because it's almost impossible to create an environment with like, you know, like once you go above 4, 5, 6, there's gonna be people that gravitate towards each other a little bit more.
A shop is a family, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
So at White Tiger, one of the great things, we were at a location in a suburb, and it was like a house shop. So we were all in like different rooms. Some of us were coupled up and stuff like that. But every morning when we'd get there, it was a kind of late morning, afternoon, we'd all get in the same car and go down the street and get lunch and then come back. And it was like this thing we always did together every day. And like that was just really cool.
Team building.
Yeah.
That's like a very simple team building right there.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so, and this goes back to like managing tattooers, right? Which is difficult.
Yes.
I mean, for real.
For real. For real.
For real. But when it gets too big, you start having that separation, right? And in my opinion, the best shops I've ever been in, whether I was guesting or whatever, have been family. Like there was a shop dinner, or you know what I mean. It was just like a more intimate group. Also, I'm like, for me, because Danny and I did folklore, right? And it was just a 3. It was me, Billy Weigler, and Danny G, right? And we started that shop.
Yeah.
And we had no intentions of hiring anybody, but when we did, it was just like, well, we hired them, and then their booth rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's like, give them freedom, provide an environment that is family oriented, right? Because, you know, whether it be a draw night or a dinner night or whatever, right? Lunch down the street, and then giving them freedom. That's it. Now, if you start treating your clients like shit, which is what we just talked about earlier, like,
That's attached to the shop. So that's when it's
that's where you cross the line.
Yeah.
Like if you work 1 day a month or 30 days a month, your booth rent doesn't change, right? But when you start showing up 2 or 3 hours late and your client's been waiting, now it's we're guilty by association.
Right.
Yes.
Of course.
That's it for me.
I think part of the important thing about creating that family community is having the ability to approach your artist when they're doing something, for lack of a better word, like incorrect or what have you, because someone's more likely to listen to you if you have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So, but if you're just their, boss that they never speak
we're
to,
not a boss,
why
right?
are they going to listen to you? Right. We're not, but it's a lot easier to be able to come to them and say, hey, I saw you doing this. Like, hey, can we correct this? And they're way more likely to listen to you if you've had outside interactions with them and you've built a relationship with them.
Agree.
Yeah.
Just to play devil's advocate, though, would you say it's easier or more likely for an artist to respect? I don't know if I should say respect is not the right word, but to follow directions of an outsider who's just coming in to lay down the law, as opposed
I guess
to
it
like,
just depends on what kind of shop.
because like I feel like it happens a lot
Management.
where a shop owner might say, "Hey man, like you gotta cool it, or you gotta step up your game or whatever," and then the artist is like, he's cool, or it's all right, and just continue doing his own thing.
I think there's a balance.
Well, the
right?
artist is going to say that if they see the shop owner doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Lead by example. You should lead by example.
Yeah, lead by example.
I'm not telling you how to run your business. It's in individual brands, right? I'm responsible for my brand, and vice versa. No matter if we work in the same shop or not.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you see me running mine the way I run it, and that's the way I'd like to see somebody else. And that's not because I'm dictating. That's just like I want to see my family succeed also.
I think what a lot of people kind of like, especially, and I hate to like, I'm not trying to like bash on the new school, I'm really not, but there's just not a lot of knowledge there as far as like a shop isn't just a roof over your head where you're just gonna do your tattoos and fuck off.
It's family.
Yeah, it's like it does. You nailed the word, like, respect. It does deserve respect. The shop is like almost like an entity. It becomes an entity.
Yeah, it's its own
that
place.
houses you.
Sure.
Provides you the environment.
Yeah.
You know, the aesthetic, the ambiance that customers walk into.
We're all individuals.
Absolutely. So it's like there should be a respect for what I consider a shop etiquette, you know, and there is a shop etiquette, whether you pay a percentage or whether it's
either way.
like you're not gonna shit where you sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna love, you know.
That's
where
breaking
you're
it
at.
down. Like that's bottom line for sure.
I mean,
I agree.
So shops are kind of like now becoming more of like, that's why there's so many bouncers around. Like people are just bouncing because they're just like, what is the next shop? Okay, that last shop didn't provide for me the way that I wanted to. So I'm
never
looking for
gonna
the
find
next
that,
shop.
though.
I was like always looking for the greener grass. But
I'm glad you brought that up, right? So there's two comments that were on this thread
Sure.
that I want to read to you guys because they're kind of where the two kind of mind frames of this place, right? And I love this one first, and then I'm going to read the kind of sort of response. So as a shop owner, it's a huge job to make sure that every aspect is handled successfully, especially when I'm also an artist. Artists want everything supplied and handled for them, but they also feel like they're getting done wrong in the money department. And it actually blows my mind that sometimes that artists don't understand the situation. Like this beautiful shop just appeared out of nowhere that costs nothing to maintain or run, and that all of the money that they put in goes straight into the owner's pocket. And the truth is that it costs a lot of money, not to only set up a great shop, but to run it successfully these days. The additional marketing management that is needed is a full-time job that requires a well-paid employee. And as an owner artist, you now need to build a team to run the shop successfully, which incurs a larger amount of money. Artists expect this, but don't want to pay for it, demanding more work and higher pay. I try my best to provide a great environment and put in the extra work to do what I can on top of my drawing and tattooing, and it will never be an issue that is solved. I think you just have to find a studio that feels good for you to create and be yourself.
that was very well.
Very, very well.
Very
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And it
I
sounds
agree.
about right.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've experienced, you know, where, you know, it's where, you know, like as when you have a business, your costs every year go up, you know, and I've never, you know, through the years that this shop's been open, I've never said, I was like, well, you have this percentage. Next month, it's going to be a little bit less because my rent went up 2%. So your percentage is going to go up 2%. Some artists will be like, what? I'm going to lose 2%? That's crazy. And it's like, well, do you want to maintain this place where you're working at that you like to work at so it could keep going?
Yeah, but they progress also, as they should.
But do they?
They should.
They should. I know that they should, but do they?
Hey, maybe their prices go up 2%.
I would love for that to be the case.
I know.
I would love for be the
devil's advocate,
case.
right?
You know, yeah, I would love for that to be the case. But how many artists do you know that have been charging the same prices for the last 10 years?
Why? Your cost of living went up?
I agree.
Yeah.
As much as that makes logical sense, I feel like the customer would go batshit crazy
Yes.
if over the years their tattoo costs went up, you know, X amount percentage. every year.
I agree. That's true.
Yeah.
But you're also like, okay, so my clients that I've had for years, I honor that price.
Yeah.
And any new client, they don't know my old price.
Right.
Any new client has the new
Fair price.
adjusted price, right?
Yeah.
But if you're, I don't know if you charge by the hour or what, but if you're charging, let's say $200 an hour, and then next year you're charging $204 an hour, and then next year you're charging $208 an hour, like that sounds retarded.
I totally.
I'd be like,
I know, but we're
I gotta make some
devil's
adjustments.
advocate all the way around, so I totally get it.
And you know what's crazy about that though, about what you just said, is that it sounds crazy in our business, but that's happened. I mean, I went to McDonald's to buy shit for my kid. It cost more money than it did 5 years ago.
I know.
Hey, their
I didn't
coffee
even
at
think about it
Starbucks-
twice. I was like, I guess I'll pay for this because that's what they're asking for.
Their
But
coffee at Starbucks that morning went from $4.05 to $5.05.
just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that. But how do we communicate that, without it making it seem like this weird thing going on? I feel like also tattooers love to have like, I charge $250, $300. It's always like this nice, perfect round number.
I do a day rate.
I find that to be the best way for the kind of work that I do.
I don't have to guess. They don't have to guess. They just know.
It's just this.
Yeah. And if I don't meet a certain hour, like 6+ hours is my day rate.
Yeah.
If I don't meet 6 hours, then we'll charge hourly.
We'll figure something out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is part 2 of this.
Okay.
This person saying, well, since we're technically subcontractors, as an artist working within someone else's business, I generally just want to be treated as such. If I'm expected to have the duties of an employee, then I better have the benefits of an employee. So I don't tolerate working at a shop where I have to cover shifts, I have no control over my schedule, I have to clean the shop unless they want to pay half of my social security taxes, offer me healthcare and other benefits for being a full-time worker. Since obviously most shops don't offer that, I will never work at a shop that makes me have employee responsibilities. This is a blatant exploitation. I do understand as a business owner that there are responsibilities and risks, though, so if I'm treated well and respected, I am of course willing to help out when needed be. But it can be never expected of me unless I'm compensated for it. That is why we have the labor laws we have.
It's just a bad attitude.
I agree.
Oh, shit.
I have choice words about this.
You're not gonna get hired.
Oh, we got a light up.
Being that open. that way.
Pause. Ice. You're on ice.
Oh, that's a different plug.
Oh, that's like this guy. It's like the box that's right there, man.
Does this have anything to
See
do with
that?
it?
No, it's all good. We'll find it.
It is over here, though, isn't it?
Matt, you see that box right there? That guy? Yeah, whatever's going on.
No.
Yeah, that's the one. That's it.
All right.
Except the cord is right in front of Gabe. Just bring it behind it.
Yeah, there you-
Perfect. That's it. Perfect.
I have choice words.
Back at it.
Okay.
Say it with your chest.
Hey, bad attitude for one, right?
Yeah, totally.
Also, you should be proud of your workspace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't ask you to mop your own floor.
Right.
Or you spilled a bunch of ink and just clean your shit up, right? It's your
because
environment.
You should be proud of that space.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's one. Two, we're guilty by association, which we just talked about. So if you're dirty and grimy, I'm not asking you to do work that you're not being paid for. I'm asking you to just keep your space clean, which you should do anyway. Mm-hmm. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And then outside of that, everybody, so when people leave a shop and they're like, and it happens more times than we want it to, they're like, don't go back to said shop.
Yeah.
They don't say, don't go see so-and-so.
That shop.
Don't go to that shop. Why? Because that motherfucker was dirty.
Yeah.
I work at that shop.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. That person's comment, they sound like the type of person that would probably that'll probably go work with, like, the place has more plants than art.
No, I mean, I get what they're saying, but I mean, look at it from that perspective, right? Look at it from a different perspective.
Well, I think that one of the things that I think this person specifically is lacking is the idea of family, of like, we're in this together.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is our boat, dude. You know, and
Yes.
we're all trying to keep this thing afloat
I was
for
about
we
to
can all
say.
benefit from it.
Absolutely.
It's like the thing where
Yeah.
we're trying to teach our almost 9-year-old is that, like, you're a part of this family. You live in this house. You're going to have chores now. Like, there's things you do, so we can all work together to keep this ship running and it not turn into a hole.
Agree.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I think that, when he starts his little rant right there saying, well, I'm an independent contractor. So
You
he's
are.
seen himself. You are,
Yeah,
but on
he's right.
paper.
He is.
Yes, he's correct. He is right.
Yeah.
But that
there's
doesn't.
contributions
Yes.
to be made.
That's what I think. Like, just because you're an independent contractor, like, to think that it's like, well, I'm not going to cover somebody else's shift. I'm like, well, maybe wouldn't you want somebody to cover your shift at one point or another? Like, if you want to take a vacation and overall, so the shop can stay covered and we can keep progressing as a business.
That
Totally.
goes into clientele also, right? The same thing. Like, when your client's like, well, I can only get off on Saturdays. I'm like, okay, have you ever had to cancel on a client? You have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
you're sick or like it just or
Totally, yeah.
a mental health day. I'm a big mental health advocate, right? So let's say you just had a mental health day. Well, does that client do they think that, well, have they ever wanted to do that at work? Well, it's the same thing with like the shop family, right? We're all part of this family group, and we all benefit, and we all actually. What am I trying to say? Like, I mean, if you fuck up, it reflects on everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be proud of your space.
Well, the thing that really bothered me, I think the most about what they said was like, I'm not going to do anything extra outside of what a shitty attitude. Like,
That's kind of like
you're
what it
not going
sounded.
to go above and
Yeah.
beyond. I'm not going to.
You're not going to be a team player at all.
Yeah.
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 That's not somebody you want to have.
You're right.
Like, you don't want to work with somebody like that.
Well, I feel like that's the guy that says like, I went to open him up my private studio because I couldn't work with anybody because everywhere where I wanted to go, everybody wanted to take advantage of me.
50,000 helper fans.
And then they find themselves by themselves with a super high fucking overhead because they weren't willing to share a little bit of what everybody was trying to do.
Hey, we're all in this together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I think if you the quicker that artists realize that, dude, I don't know many millionaires in tattooing. They were just like, I just opened up a shop and became a fucking millionaire off of that thing. I don't.
Did you open up a shop?
Not with the idea.
With the idea of being a
Like, I'm gonna fucking be a millionaire off of these.
I opened up a shop to
Get the fuck
facilitate
outta
an
here,
environment
bro.
for a like-minded artist.
Exactly.
Those idiots are going to make money for me.
Oh yes.
Yes, I will no longer tat. And John is still in here
but nobody-
day in, day out, just
Grinding
loving
harder than
tattoos.
everybody else,
Yeah.
too.
That still exists, right?
Yeah.
But that's not why we're here.
No, man. Like, you know, you do this because you love it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And you create an environment that is fun to be with people. I was like, I just want to work in a cool place that I can chill with my friends.
Yeah,
That was really it.
that's always been the. I mean,
That's amazing.
That's
yeah.
it, dude.
That is the goal.
Can you hope for anything?
the goal.
Can you hope for anything more?
No.
Right.
But then this is where it comes in. This is like
Okay.
when, like, you know, I used to be a liberal, but now I'm a conservative.
I flew in from Dallas, Texas, just so tread lightly.
So I used to, there's a lot of things that, like, you know, when we first got together and opened the shop with, like, because if you worked in a co-op type shop where you're dividing everything and everybody, and it's very different than when it's like, nah, you handle all of the extra shit that's coming out, you know? It's a lot more bullshit. And I had some friend kind of like mention about like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this like co-op shop. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. It's all well and dandy till one of your co-op buddies goes like, oh, dude, I ain't got that rent.
Yep.
Because they don't give a shit. They're like, oh yeah, dude, I'm behind on my payments. I owe a bunch of fucking money in my credit. I don't really care, bro. I'm fine, bro. And you're like, nah, dude, I got kids. I got fucking responsibilities that I got to take care of.
Yeah,
I can't live my life like a fuck off right now, bro. You can do that for yourself, but I cannot
the
do that.
collective mentality, right?
Right.
Yep.
Which the collective mentality sometimes work if you have, which is like, I think if you're going to do a collective, one of the safest things you could do, it's like, all right, you're going to have a very heavy, like right when you're going to like get a mortgage or do a lease, you need to come up with a big chunk of money that we're going to hold in escrow in case you fuck up.
As we did, right? But I also had to know if things go south, can I pay for this by myself?
Yes.
That I think is key.
Major key. And depending on where you're at, that can change a lot.
It changes a lot.
So like one of the things that, you know, that you brought up earlier was like, oh, you know, like we did, you know, booth rental for my guys. You know what I'm saying? Like I would love if every artist, and there were about 9 artists here. I would love if every artist here was like, I want to do booth rental, you know, but not everybody can afford their booth rental. You know, it's just the reality of it is,
Right,
you know,
right.
Not like some months they could, some months they couldn't, you know? So I'm like, well, then maybe you should do a percentage at that point because it works out. It'll even out where you can kind of maintain. But also when you have booth rental, I'm going to say it's less of a headache because everybody can a little bit kind of just know exactly what they're doing and expecting and everything kind of pans out.
What's expected. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But when you're doing percentages with people, it gets difficult because
It's a lot of numbers.
It's a lot of numbers.
It's a lot of numbers.
It's a lot of numbers with people.
Yeah, because you're making all these daily transactions instead of it just being you're keeping whatever you want, but you're always supplying the same every month. So I get it. Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
So I've been trying to figure out what is the best way. I mean, to me, the best way would be like a perfect rent with everybody.
Oh yeah.
You know, that would be the perfect dream.
Sure.
But it seems impossible.
Yeah.
Especially because in New York City, overheads are crazy.
I was going to ask.
It's crazy out here, guys.
I mean, you don't have to say, but you could say without saying. It's crazy.
I'm going to tell you that just our rent is over $8,000.
Okay.
Our rent, just the rent.
Just rent. Nothing
Just
else.
rent. No extras.
No, I got you.
Just rent over $8,000.
Yeah.
That's a good safe number to tell you guys because it sucks.
What? Oh, the comments. What?
Hey,
$8,000. Where are you renting on? What's the expensive street over there? Like,
Yo,
What do you want, Madison?
I know, dude. It's legit, dude. I did the math the other day because we were
Lower East
talking
Side,
about
New York.
about owning a place, right? Like, how sick would it be if I could buy like the store, right? Like I just own this store, and I was like, oh man, I'm paying almost $96,000 a year in rent.
Shit.
Right?
No shit.
If I have a 10-year lease, we're gonna hit that $1 million fucking mark.
wow.
It's crazy when we think about it like that. Like, oh shit, we're gonna spend $1 million to be here for 10 years,
Yeah.
dude.
To be open.
To be open, dude.
Hey, me, Danny, and Billy, $2,700 a month, and they wouldn't sign us more than a 2-year lease.
Look at that.
What?
27 bills paid.
Bills paid 27.
Look at how happy he is.
That's insanity.
Woo! You want to know why we did our collective? That's why.
It made sense. The math made sense.
I couldn't pay booth rent for less than that somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I get it. I know that the regional, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think it varies so much. Like if you're in any of the big cities, you're gonna have a crazy, especially if you're trying to create like good foot traffic location.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna
cost.
pile.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Well,
changes from
it's not
street to
easy. It's
street.
not easy. You know.
Going back to, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Going back to that guy who left the comment before, I know obviously we can't ask him, but I would love to ask him, would he be happy if he got fired from that job, or would he be upset about it? Because it sounds like he just doesn't care whether or not he's there or that, right?
That's a good question.
If he's saying like, oh, I wouldn't put in any extra effort, then maybe you don't really want to be there.
Maybe. Yeah. For
right?
sure.
No, absolutely. So okay, so he gets fired. Is he mad? Right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you lost something? You know? You feel like
If you feel like you lost something, then maybe you should change your mindset.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I agree, man. Because he sounds a little bitter.
Yeah.
He should be better.
Who hurt you?
Hey, we've all
hurt you.
We're all hurt.
Yeah. We're all hurting.
We are.
I would talk about that, but I feel like
Let's not.
Joe Cap talked about that last
We
week.
talked about it.
Yeah, he talked about it. It was that.
I'm gonna
But,
say let's not and say we did.
but I want to go back to Pam because one of the things that we discussed when I first invited you to come on the podcast was social media. I feel like you are a Sith Lord of social media. I feel like you do so well. You make content that is fun and people want to watch it. You have great engagement. And I want to know, how did you start? You know, I mean, we know how social media started becoming something huge, but then how do you plan? Because you're consistent. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do when you're working on social media right now.
Yeah.
I'd like to know that too.
It was easier in the beginning. And I just did it because I promised myself that I was not going to do it if it stopped being fun. And I only wanted to do it if it was fun.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy teaching, so I kind of use it as that outlet as well. I try to like bridge a lot of gaps between artists and clients because I always saw a lot of gaps and clients misunderstanding things and artists misunderstanding things. And I wanted to try to kind of put a little bit of knowledge in both sides' hands. But also I just, I'm an elder millennial, grew up with the rise of YouTube, and like I always wanted to be a YouTube star, but I didn't have anything good to say, and I didn't have a personality until I was like 25. So I didn't do that. And I think this is kind of my 16-year-old self living vicariously through me. I really enjoy making the goofy videos and lip syncing to the dumb sounds and stuff like that. But I understood early on the importance of content having to have value. Like, you can't just post a bunch of shit all the time and expect it to take off or it to mean anything. I knew that whether it had to be either like genuinely funny. If I don't think it's funny, I'm not going to post it. Like, would I like this? Would I think it's funny? Or it has to be like genuinely informative or, you know, genuinely visually appealing, that kind of thing. It has to have value of some kind. And I don't know, I just came up with a lot of ideas. I tried to mix it up a little bit. And I tried to post like once a day if I could. That got to be a lot. At first I had a lot of ideas. So I would just, you know, one day make a ton of videos and then spread them out. And then I'm starting to slow down a lot now. I don't know. No one's probably noticed, but I've stopped posting as many videos and I've slowed down on creating content because it is very draining.
You're a full-time tattooer.
Yeah, I was not gonna ask.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of
do
energy.
everything.
I cannot
Do
do
you do
everything.
your own schedule and emails?
Yeah.
Okay, and then content and tattoo and drawing, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
A lot. So
Do you
I'm
batch
thinking
your content? Do you create like a whole? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to batch it. Because like Tuesdays, I'm like in the shop but not tattooing. So if I don't have a lot of drawing to do, I can fuck off and just, you know, kind of do whatever. So those like my video creating day. And so I do that. But yeah, taking a really big step back for like mental health reasons, and
It's got to be draining.
it's so draining. And then the more popular they got and the more that your tattoo content, your niche content is seen by people who like aren't tattooers or people interested in tattooing.
Oh, pause. So back to
Yeah.
where we're at. Sorry for the.
Yep.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm also taking a step back just because, you know, the more popular like a lot of videos got, the more they're getting seen by people who have no fucking interest in seeing your stuff. And so you get just bludgeoned by, you know, troll comments,
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
negativity, and it's just impossible to field all that shit. So just taking a step back from it for multiple reasons. And part of me is like afraid to step back. Being a, you know, I was like ignored as a child, and and like I always used my artwork as a way to get positive attention, and creating videos kind of became an extension of that, if I can get like kind of personal. But yeah, so taking a step back is a little scary because I'm like, well, am I going to be like invisible again? No one's going to really give a shit about like me and what I'm doing if I'm not creating these like funny, informative videos.
Yeah.
But I might come back to it. Like I you know, come up with ideas, or I see things in tattooing where I'm like, oh, I really want to talk about that. And I think that because I don't see other people talking about that thing.
One of my. Oh, sorry.
No.
So one of my favorite creators on YouTube, he does like financial advice and stuff like that. And he had a really kind of like video where he was like, I'm not talking about what we usually talk about. I just want to talk about me. And that was one of the things of like, man, I was experiencing such burnout because at first he was like, oh, I'm creating this content because I knew it. He had a full-time job and was just making content all the time. Every night he was like, I would spend all these hours creating content. And after I figured out that I was doing like 1 or 2 videos a week and things started going, I was like, I should do 5 videos a week. And he did, you know, and then his channel went from like, you know, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. And then in about 2 years, it went from 100,000 to 1 million on YouTube. Yeah. And then at that point, he was afraid to step back because I was like, man, I did all this work to get here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if I cut back on this, it'll go away all of a sudden.
Well, it will though.
So in his,
it's meant, and that's the unhealthy part about social media and content creation is that it keeps you on the hamster wheel.
Well,
if
it's
you
like
jump off of it.
It's like having big
100%.
muscles, my guy.
I see that. I see that, and I'm like, yeah, not for me.
Yo, how do you get big muscles? You got to work out all the time. How do you keep them? You got to keep working out all the time. The day you stop working out, bro, those things start going back down. It's just the way that it works.
Check this out, though. It's reward. At least that's like, I mean, I'm sure this can be rewarding because you're getting all the dopamine hits from everybody like
Right.
Like all the eyes, all the
But it's
positivity.
never enough. It's never
It's
ever.
never
enough.
Ever
Yeah.
enough.
It's
You could
never
take
enough.
Daniel Tosh's approach. He just posted this on his podcast a couple of weeks ago. Oh, I mean, he's
He's
hysterical.
hilarious.
So his YouTube channel for his podcast just hit whatever number it was, I don't know, 100,000, 200,000. He's like, I want to be the first guy to get to 100,000 and then immediately bring it back down to 0. Let's see if we can do it.
Let's see if we can do it. Challenge yourself,
I miss
guys.
that
Challenge
guy.
yourself.
Yeah.
The problem is, for me, is I notice a drop in emails and inquiries. Right, it's not even.
Shoot.
It's you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not even about.
Absolutely.
It's not about
It's so
maintaining. It's not
nuts,
about
man.
maintaining a following.
No.
Or maintaining like that engagement, but there's a noticeable difference if I'm not active enough on social
Yeah.
media. I see a drop in inquiries.
It's
100%.
It's insane.
I say to John all the time, because I sell a lot of prints, and the only way that I'm selling prints is if I'm constantly promoting those prints and
Sure.
posting
That
videos.
shit.
Yeah.
And if I don't, which I haven't for like the last 2 months, I sold maybe 2 prints within the last 2 months, where normally I'll sell like a couple a week.
Sure.
But I haven't posted anything about it, and no one's buying anything also.
No, I agree, and I just moved from Dallas back to Lubbock, hometown, and I mean, if you look at my page, I posted 2 tattoos in 4 months. That's not okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
That's
not-
my goal.
I actually,
it's not a joke.
I actually,
That's my goal.
I actually enjoy
It'd be
not
like,
having
oh,
to fucking worry about it.
What can
But-
you do?
But guess
Check
what?
out these 2 pictures right there.
I love not having to worry about it. But guess what? I have to fucking worry about it.
I know. I know.
Right?
Everybody's got to know.
So it's a lot. It's a lot to juggle.
It's a lot to juggle, but it's the reward, right? If like
100%.
like you're busy tattooing as much as you want to tattoo and the work that you want to do, and it's because you cast this huge net that get all these people to have eyes, on what you're doing, and then like you said, there's going to be a bunch of trolls that don't give a crap. But if you get 10 people that are like, I love what you do, and I want to get tattooed by you for the next 10 years, dude.
It's worth it.
It is worth it.
Do you get that?
Man.
Do you get people who comment on like your educational content and say that, oh, I want to get tattooed by you also?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. From
And then actually turn into clients?
Yeah. They see my content, and I think they appreciate like who I am as a person and me trying to educate, and they see me doing it genuinely. And I think that helps bring in clients because they feel like they kind of already know me, which can be kind of weird at times, but I think it helps. They feel more comfortable.
I want to comment on that.
Yeah.
My page is usually just work.
You have just work.
But my story is personal because they feel like they know you. And that, remember the first time you ever walked into a tattoo shop to get tattooed? You were intimidated as fuck.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You were scared. You were intimidated. You were like, and it was a little bit different, mind you. But I'm just commenting on that because I agree.
It
You know,
helps.
when they see that story, so my page is as professional as I can make it, which is pretty unprofessional. But my story is more personal, right? And because if they feel like they know you, then
you
they're-
broke ice already. Like
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
And so I agree with that. I agree with what Pam's saying. I totally agree with that.
100%, man. That's, I mean, like, you and I both did Inkmaster, and that's one thing of like
Yeah.
when people meet you and they're like, they already feel like they know a little bit of your story,
Sure.
enough that they feel a little bit more comfortable with you than if they just walked into the shop the first time and just saw your work, but they know a little bit of your personality, and then they're like, oh man, you just seem like a cool person. I want to hang out with you and
Sure.
get this cool tattoo from you because I like your artwork.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Gabe's like, what?
That's weird.
You needed this tapper from me because I'm a tattoo legend.
I never talked about my daughter or something like that. So how's your daughter?
Oh no, I don't post about like that personal. Like I don't post like my children.
I've been that personal. So
I wasn't trying to air anything out. I'm just making it.
Yeah, but I feel like all those little things, whatever it is that like the guys that are super into anime or they're super into I'm sure if you start posting about your, supercross, motocross background, there's people that were like, dude, I love that shit too. I want to talk about it with you while I'm getting this tattoo of my dog or my cat, dude.
absolutely. And I do.
They might even want to get their dog riding motocross, doing Superman. Like,
I've already done dogs wearing helmets and everything.
Exactly.
I've done it. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm such a private person. It'd be like, you know, if I start
almost,
revealing stuff like my everyday,
we
you know,
almost can be.
I'd be like, oh, that guy's a loser just like me. I'm gonna go get tattooed by him.
But you might get a bunch of losers paying you money.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I'd be like, it might work out. I'd be like, oh man,
Dude, that's why people went to Average Joe's gym, bro.
oh my goodness.
They didn't want to go to Globo Gym. They wanted to go to Average Joe's.
Joe's.
Yes, dude, because there's a level of like, you just want to find connection, dude.
Sure.
Like, there's plenty of people that I'm probably not their cup of tea, dude. You know what I'm saying? But like, some people are like, that
You're
guy's
not-
fucking crazy.
How could you not be somebody's cup of tea?
I don't know, bro. There'll be weirdos out
Do
there.
you want to trade? You want to trade shoes? I asked you earlier.
Oh, you want to trade kicks? Oh, dude, I could never pull off those
Oh, well,
Nikes. No, like my bell bottoms, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, this comes full circle.
Yeah.
It does.
It really does.
The importance of, what was it that we were talking about?
Well,
Like the connection and the experience, right?
Yep.
So like, for example, my apprentice, she's only been tattooing for like a year and a half. And she tattooed someone, and then that girl told her friends, and someone drove like 6 hours to come see her in like bumfuck New York because her friend had a good experience, and she's like, oh, you need to go to this girl, as opposed to seeing someone in her own hometown that she didn't know.
Sure.
You know,
That's that full circle because we talked about experience an hour ago,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just what we do.
Yeah.
It's kind of important, I think.
Okay, guys, it is time. We've reached the
no.
moment in the podcast.
Oh, we're doing it again?
We are doing it.
Are we going to do this every week?
We're going to do it every week. This should be quick.
Pam, I don't know what this is about.
I don't know either.
We're going to do
All right. Musical chairs.
our segment, 10 honest questions with some honest tattooers. So let's get it. All right. So first questions.
Let's go.
Let's start with Tiffer. What's the most unusual or unexpected inspiration that you've ever had for a tattoo design?
Honest inspiration or ask?
Unusual or inspiration that somebody's like, hey, I think I want to go with this. And you're like,
Somebody asked me for a zombie Jesus holding a rubber chicken and his severed penis in his hands.
holy
That is
shit.
something.
That is specific.
Oh man.
Well, why do you think I remember that? That's literally like 18 years ago. I'm like, you're asking me a very specific question, and I have a very specific answer.
All right, Pam. If you could collaborate with any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
It's a tough one. Probably. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Deanna James in Texas.
Oh shit, cool.
I really love her work, and yeah, I think it's really cool, and I think that we could do some cool stuff with our two slightly different styles.
Well, I think you should make that happen. 'Cause
Shout out to
Deanna.
Deanna.
Yeah.
Tip.
No.
If you could use, or you could only do one tattoo style for the rest of your career, what would it be?
Kanji.
I was going to say barbed wire.
Hey, we're cool. We're friends.
Bring it back around. Let's go. Honestly, barbed wire.
Just barbed wire tats?
No.
Yeah.
I love doing texture. So like neotrad with because my illustrative like pets tend to have like a realistic aspect. I love doing fur. I
cool.
hate fucking tattooing lions. I hate tattooing lions. So I'm not talking about a mane. I'm just anything with like wispy lines for fur.
Fluffy.
Sick.
Yeah, fluffy. Yeah,
To our listeners, in case you want to email Tiff,
not about a lion.
no freaking lines. All right, guys.
Pam, how has tattooing influenced your personal life or worldview?
Oh man. Well, let's see, my personal life. So interesting. I mean, I think it's shaped the way that I've interacted with people, and getting to hear so many different stories, and being a Christian, it's also part of it, and kind of that's shaped my worldview as well, and having tattooing kind of be ministry in a way.
It's opportunity for conversation.
Yeah. And not that I don't corner anybody, but it's nice to kind of have those relationships with your client. I think it's a very unique art form, tattooing, for that reason, getting to have those relationships with people. And yeah, I think that's it.
I think
Very cool.
tattooing lets you have this like moments of like really deep connection if you choose for it to be.
Vulnerability.
It is really your choice if you want to make it there or
on
not.
both sides. Both sides.
Some days it's just
Absolutely.
you're just sitting in silence tattooing them, and that's fine too. Then you do have those.
Those are some of my favorite days.
Favorite days when we cry at the end, hug each other, and say, "Let's go have a drink together, bro." Like, this is my best day. All right. What is one piece of equipment or tool that you consider indispensable?
A Sharpie.
A Sharpie.
Heck yeah.
Interesting.
We love the Sharpies.
I love the freehand stuff.
My
still.
boy's custom. Yeah, Sharpies are a great tool. That's a good point.
Alex knows we did all kinds of Sharpieing. Well, she's not going to comment.
Now let's give a round of applause to our audience. over here.
We have an audience, guys, today. We're going to show them back there. All right, Pamela. So we go back to you. If you couldn't be a tattoo artist, what career path would you choose?
Oh my gosh.
Why?
I feel like there's like several routes I could have taken. Have you ever seen the show Face Off? They don't run it anymore, but it was
the makeup, like
like where they did
yes.
like the special effects.
Yeah,
That shit is
that
so fucking cool.
Yeah, that
And,
is
like,
really cool.
I'd have to get really good at clay, but like I feel like I'd really want to do that.
You slaying that.
Yeah.
I think so. You're right.
Creative to the bone.
Tiffer,
Yes, sir.
can you share a pivotal moment in your career that reshaped your approach to tattooing?
This podcast.
I like this changed the game for me.
My move to Dallas.
You moved to Dallas.
Yeah, because I sold the shop back in Lubbock, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck tattooing. After 10 years, I was like, went back to school, and then I moved to Dallas, and Zach Singer gave me an opportunity that I never thought I would have. Right,
Shit.
I was a nobody from fucking small town Lubbock, Texas. That shaped the next 10 years of my career.
Shit, man. Well, shout out to Zach. Zach's my boy, man.
He's a good motherfucker.
Hell yeah,
Awesome.
man. Me and Zach took a trip together, our first time ever going to New Zealand. And when we landed in New Zealand, neither of us had ever driven on the other side of the road. So we rented a car and we're like, all right, dude, who's going to drive first on the other side of the road?
That
there
would
for the
mess me up
convention?
so bad.
Oh man, it was weird. And we were going to the convention, and then we went from the airport to hop in on a fucking car to drive for like 2-3 hours to a convention, dude. And it was one of those moments where it was like, this is crazy how far tattooing has taken me.
No
Is the
shit.
steering wheel on the opposite side of the car also?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd. Because then sometimes, like when you're like all about to get in the car, you think you're like, oh shit, the steering wheel's on this side. It's crazy. So Pamela, if you had the power to change one aspect of the tattoo industry today, what would it be?
Oh Lord.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
you
guys
put her
are
on the
lucky
spot.
it's not
I'm
gonna-
glad you didn't ask me that question.
Man. These spontaneous questions are so hard without having time to think about it. I really got to edit out my awkward silence.
It does. We do.
Good. One thing about the tattoo industry that I would change. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say that like I love it the way that it is, but like I feel like we just need everybody to agree to disagree. You know what I mean? Like tattooers don't agree on anything. Like
No.
there's so many just diversions of it. It's almost like a religion, right? Like it's just branching off.
The coilers,
Yeah,
the
you got-
rotaries,
Yeah.
Yep.
neo-traditional, traditional.
I feel like
Realism.
So one thing I would change is like having those different factions of tattooing, being able to learn from each other instead of like butting with each other and being like, your shit's the wrong way, my way's the right way.
sucks.
Right, yeah, realism
What a
Yeah.
wholesome response.
That's the nicest thing ever.
sucks. World peace.
I agree with that, though.
Coexist.
And to close it out, what's the best piece of advice that you've received about tattooing that you'd like to pass on?
Perseverance. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me and the people I've met and like really, really trying my hardest. Right? My dad always said, "You get what you give." and that's universal. That's not just tattooing.
Yeah.
So you get what you give. You know, I mean, like, you can try to find the perfect place, which you'll never find, but find a family, and like you said, you know, coexist. I do find that to be the best way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Nothing's perfect.
No.
What would
You
be
know,
your piece of
it's
advice?
what you make it.
I think for me, it would be like comparison is the thief of joy for many things. And so understanding that as a tattooer, you're on your own journey. The learning curve is always usually extremely steep and long. And you have to be patient with yourself and not compare your journey with somebody else's.
Correct.
Because that's so easy to do and get discouraged.
Oh yeah.
And so that's something that I always have to remind myself. So I think that's the biggest piece of advice.
I actually
Absolutely.
love that.
Yeah.
Like I said, perseverance, but also someone told me one time. So Rodrigo Calaca in Barcelona, before he was doing traditional dragons and like all his clowns, and like he did the most crazy lady faces.
Yeah.
Right? I loved it. And somebody told me, he was like, you'll never be as good at what Rodrigo does as Rodrigo. And so you have to think about that for yourself, right? You look at other people's pages and you get discouraged. You're like, well, no one's ever going to be as good as what Pamela does as Pamela, right? And John, you know, that's just the way it is. And so you forget that because you look at all these artists, which are amazing. You're like, I want to be like that. You'll never be like that. You'll only be as good as what you are good at.
Yeah,
Now it's not even just art and tattooing. You've moved on. Like so many artists they're opening up these big, beautiful shops.
Sure.
They're doing all these seminars. I've got to be doing all this, or I'm not as good as they are, or whatever. Like you feel like you got to be doing all this shit, and you're just comparing yourself to what somebody else is doing.
But you'll never be as good. Pamela will never be as good as what anyone else does other than Pamela, right?
Right.
And vice versa for everybody. It's universal.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, shit, guys.
That's it.
I think that was a perfect ending. I think that was a great one.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And
Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
anything out to the Patreon?
Yeah, actually. So with Patreon, I just got a message today, and it was probably sitting there for a while, but I just happened to see it. Starting November of 2024, if you become a new member on Patreon, you are now going to be subject to a 30% increase because Patreon now has to pay their pay per app or pay per whatever for being in the App Store for Apple. So Apple's charging an extra 30%, and they're going to tack that on to the new users.
Oh, would you look at that?
Would you look at that?
Would you look at that?
Okay,
So-
I have a turntable.
You're out the turntable.
So if you were thinking about jumping on the Patreon and you were kind of hesitant about it, do it before that price increase. And then another thing I just found out about Patreon too is that if you don't want to pay monthly for a subscription, but there happens to be a video that you want to watch, you can now purchase a specific video that you want to watch.
Cool.
So that's an option also.
Pretty cool.
So if you want to help support the show, check out patreon.com/honest-tattooer.
I was gonna ask, like, how does anybody like want to listen or watch or and that's it.
Well, that will be for additional content.
Okay.
This will be on YouTube. It'll be on Spotify,
Sure.
all those streaming services.
All the streaming services of the podcast, but most of all, watch us on YouTube, guys, because you're missing all of these beautiful faces. And most of all, we appreciate that you tune in every week,
Definitely.
and we love you. And we'll see you.
Do you have a
next week.
recommendation? Because I got a good one.
Oh, you have recommendations?
Uh-oh.
What is it?
Oh
So
no.
well, maybe I want to go last. You ever? Nah, you don't. So we like to do a recommendation, anything, whether it's just advice, movie recommendation, music, whatever, books. If you have anything that you want to tell people to check out,
Yacht Rock.
Yacht Rock.
I'm gonna listen to oldies all day tomorrow.
Yes.
Anything?
Yeah, you should read the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson if you like fantasy.
Okay.
Fantasy.
Nerd. Love fantasy. Middle
Miss-
Earth.
the
Anything
Mistborn
Middle Earth.
series.
Anything like
By Brandon Sanderson.
my
You got
brain
anything, John?
goes.
Let me see this week.
It's awesome.
No, I don't have anything.
So based off of a lot of what we talked about today, I'm going to recommend Dirty Pop. It's the documentary about Lou Pearlman.
Oh shit! I've been wanting to
I
watch
haven't
that.
watched that yet.
It is
Dirty Pop.
Dirty Pop. It is so good.
All right, cool.
And it has a lot to kind of intertwined with some of the things that we talked about today.
Yeah.
But the most amazing thing that I found about this guy was that not only was he like a crazy business guy who just like pretty much what he did was considered the largest Ponzi scheme that America has ever witnessed.
Damn.
Worse than fire. What was it? Yeah.
Firefest.
The Fire Fest?
Yes. Worse
I
than-
love that.
worse than
Or
that.
Bernie Madoff?
No, I'm asking. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
this went on for decades.
Okay.
Decades.
No
This went on
shit.
for- Yeah.
Okay.
But this guy was an artist and he was a master forger. He would forge all these signatures.
Okay.
And he would hand draw embossed like logos from banks.
That is committing to the
Damn.
bit.
Get the fuck-
He'd be sitting in the hotel lobby and draw like the emblem for a bank and then fax it over to some other bank so that he can get a loan. And either he was so good or these guys were so dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he was just sitting there, and this is like early 90s also. He's not like looking at a tablet while he's just sitting in the hotel lobby just
shit.
drawing. Yeah.
Dang.
Wow.
He was born for that.
Well,
Yeah.
we're,
What else to
we're
say?
fucking up, aren't we?
We are fucking up, bro.
But yeah, check that out. It is crazy.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
Well, guys, have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Hey.
Awesome.
Bye.
Peace. Peace.